I had students make pamphlets on the Revolutionary War and the causes of it, and then they had to go present it to another adult in the building. That was their assignment, and they had to get a signature from that adult. Welcome to your classroom coffee break. I'm John Van Dusen, a longtime teacher, coach, and Army officer. In this episode, I want to talk about the Boston Tea Party and basically how not every lesson can be as fun as a tea party. And we're going to go through a blog post in a minute, but let me give you a little context. When I teach about the Boston Tea Party, I take all of my student tables and I push them all together as if they are tea ships in the Boston Harbor. And then I go to Walmart or the dollar store and I get a bunch of tea bags. And it's important that these are in the little wrappers because as the students are watching a short video on the Boston Tea Party, I put these tea bags on all of the tables. And then we pretend as if we are the Sons of Liberty. We storm the tables. I make the students actually sit on them. Then they proceed to break open all of the little tea bags as if those are the tea chests. And then we throw the tea onto the floor, as in throwing it in the harbor. And I've done different variations where I've set up buckets or I've had my coffee cups out with water in them to see if we can actually make a target. But the whole idea is for them to understand that this was an act where people were actually destroying property, almost like vandalism. To teach it from the British point of view, it'd be they're vandalizing the goods. They destroyed British property. And this all comes from my first year of teaching, and that's where my blog post comes in. So I'm going to grab my blog post and we're going to read through it. I wrote this back in April 2021, and it reflects back on my first year teaching back in 2007. So let's get after it. The title is Not Every Day Can Be a Tea Party. In my first year of teaching, I taught what I thought was a great lesson on the Boston Tea Party to a group of 8th graders. As my students were packing up their backpacks and preparing to leave, I overheard a student say to one of her friends, "We should have a tea party like that, pretty dresses and cool hats." I thought about what had happened and how I had covered the material and realized it wasn't good enough. I went out that night and purchased 100 pack of Lipton tea bags, rearranged my tables to be ships, and then the next day held my class in the hallway until the bell. I gave a 30-second review of what had happened, then we proceeded to storm my classroom and throw the tea into buckets of water I had placed around the room. They got the idea, and I was very pleased with their level of interaction and understanding. If you were to ask those students today, they would be about 28 or 29 years old. Wait, what? That can't be right. Pushes ibuprofen out of the way to check the calendar. Nope, that's right. Anyway, those students might have only remembered one thing from my teaching that year, and that might have been the lesson on the Boston Tea Party. Not every day can be that. Not every lesson can be fun, engaging, and interactive. I wish that it could, but it's an impossibility. I've come to realize the fact and now share it openly with my students. Being honest with them helps them mentally prepare for the lesson and also gives me credibility. Don't get me wrong, I would love to teach lessons like the Boston Tea Party every day. When we have those days, students are happy to learn and happy to engage with whatever we're doing. When we don't have those days, my students know that they won't be throwing tea, hitching wagons, or developing the Alamo defenses out of my desks, and I find that they are more receptive and introspective. For example, we're learning about the 14th Amendment right now, and it's very detailed and technical in its writing and application. It's difficult to make it exciting. However, by leading with the idea that this isn't a tea party day, my students are okay with it. They know that I like to get them out of their seats and try different projects, so when we can't, it's almost as if they understand the importance of the topic and it increases their focus. I'll keep working on ways to make my lessons engaging both mentally and physically. I'm a firm believer that my 8th graders should be moving, talking, and creating. Now that we've learned about the 14th Amendment, maybe it's time to make my room into the Supreme Court. So again, that comes from a blog post I wrote back in 2021, and I think any student that's had me knows that I like to do fun things, I like to do engaging things, but not every day can be that. I would love to hear in the comments below how you make your lessons fun and engaging. So either give a brief description or a link to a picture or a video that you've done about it. Coming up in my class, I have to be gone for 4 days, so I'm going to try to recycle a project I did a few years ago. I was gone for an entire week, and I had my students create podcasts on different parts of the Civil War, whether that's the flags, the uniforms, the defenses. Well, we're not to the Civil War yet, but we're on the War of 1812, and I think I'm going to have students try to make podcasts either on topics of the War of 1812, which would be pretty easy to do because I can break it into like the Northern Campaign, which is close to us Michiganders with Fort Mackinac, the Eastern Seaboard, specifically with Fort McHenry, burning down of the White House, and then the Southern Campaign, finishing up with the Battle of New Orleans. So I might try to do something like that, or I might have them do voiceovers for some part of the Lewis and Clark expedition. I think we're at a place that we could do either one of those, but that's not just for when I'm gone. When I'm here, I also like to do projects. One of the best projects we did earlier this year was I had students make pamphlets on the Revolutionary War and the causes of it, and then they had to go present it to another adult in the building. That was their assignment, and they had to get a signature from that adult, and then that presentation combined with the reflection form I had them do on Google Classroom counted as the assignment. And I think the students really liked that, and they liked that they produced something that they're actually able to present to somebody other than another student. So as you can probably tell by now, I'm always looking for new, fun, engaging ways. Again, please post them in the comments. If you got some value out of this video, like, share, and tell your friends so they can make it to our next classroom coffee break.